Good morning. All right, it is day 2 of the whole Christmas story, as I'm calling it. And today's reading is in Isaiah 9. And, again, I'm really loving reading all of this stuff and having the context. And I'm spending, honestly, way too much time digging in to understand, like, what's happening in the background and everything. But in Isaiah 9 is this utter prophecy that I mean we've all heard this, when like hearing the Christmas story. So Isaiah 9, um, verses 6 and 7, it says, "For a child is born to us, a son is given to us, the government will rest on his shoulders, and he will be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. uh, his government and its peace will never end. He will rule with fairness and justice from the throne of his ancestor David for all eternity. The passionate commitment of the Lord of Heaven's armies will make this happen." And there's absolutely no mistaking that Isaiah is, talking about Christ, the Messiah, when when he's, giving this prophecy. And to understand the context of what's going on here, if we go back, yesterday's reading was in Isaiah 7, and in Isaiah 7, you've got King Ahaz, who is scared to death that he's going to be attacked by Syria and Israel. And, so King Ahaz, of course, is the king of Judah. And Judah is where, like, David reigned and all of that. So King Ahaz is scared that he's going to be wiped out by these other two countries, and he ends up going to Assyria, not to be confused with Syria, but Assyria, um, to ask for their protection. And God is telling King Ahaz, "Don't go to them, come to me. Like, I will protect you. You don't need to go to humans to protect you. Come to God to protect you." But he doesn't. King Ahaz goes to the king of Assyria. And to give a little context to that, Assyria is like the Assyrian Empire, giant, massive empire. And they're very, very brutal. Like they're just warmongers. And anything that they go to war with, they completely destroy. Um, so, like I say, King Ahaz, he doesn't listen to God. He goes to the king of Assyria, and Assyria does what he asks him to. Assyria, they completely destroy Syria. They completely destroy Israel. And then guess what they do? They come after Judah also. And ultimately, God ends up protecting Judah. Now, at the time that Assyria comes for Judah, this is during Hezekiah's reign. So King Ahaz is no longer the king of Judah. King Hezekiah is the king, and King Hezekiah is a godly man. And this is the difference between him and Ahaz, is that when King Hezekiah learns that Assyria is coming to attack Jerusalem, because actually previous to this, Assyria had uh, attacked and destroyed some other places in Judah, but Jerusalem was like one of the places that was still standing. And God had promised long before this to protect a remnant of Judah, and Jerusalem is that remnant of Judah that he protected. So King Hezekiah, he like tears his clothes, falls in prayer, goes before God, asking God to protect the to protect Jerusalem, and he does. The Assyrian army is on their way to conquer Jerusalem. God sends one angel who completely wipes out 185,000 Assyrian soldiers. Now, of course, remember I said I would clue y'all into how my ADD brain works, because that part of it, it it's not necessarily what I'm looking at here for for the Christmas story. The Christmas story is really about Isaiah prophesying about, this child born to us. It's about these names: wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. And these names are like really, really important. And let me dig back to that. I should have had it pulled up here already. Okay, so um, because it makes things come to life with Herod, and why when Jesus was born, Herod wanted to kill him. And if we look at these names, all right, Wonderful Counselor. We're talking about a child that's going to be born. Okay, Wonderful Counselor. He has supernatural wisdom. When you go back and you look at the Hebrew of what these words mean, Wonderful Counselor means he has supernatural wisdom. Mighty God, he has divine power. Everlasting Father, he gives eternal care and protection. And it's not saying that Jesus, or this child that's being born, is God the Father, because we've got the Trinity. God the Father is God the Father, but Jesus is, they're calling him Everlasting Father. He gives eternal care and protection. And the Prince of Peace, he brings true peace, like spiritually and globally. And when I read this, I'm looking at his government and its peace will never end. He will rule with fairness and justice from the throne of his ancestor David for all eternity. Uh, and it's that part about his government and its peace will never end. And when Isaiah is prophesying this, basically he's telling Ahaz, he's like, look, this is not uh, when this child is born, this child who will rule and will be the eternal king. He will not be like any king that the world has ever experienced, because a lot of these kings were just wicked. Um, and of course, Jesus is going to be a pure and perfect and righteous king. And if you look then at Herod, well, Herod knows, like, these kings, whether they were godly men or not, they understood scripture. They understood what was happening here. And for Herod to know that there was going to be this king who was born, who would rule with fairness and justice, and have a world that is full of peace and all of these things. Well, I mean, that was a real threat to him. First of all, Herod had no right to sit on David's throne. Herod was not like, he wasn't even a Jew. He was Ammonite or whatever. He had no right to be there, and he was. So when he learns that the King of the Jews is born, well, that was a serious threat to him. So, to go back to this prophecy and to understand what's meant by Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace, and just how much of a threat that was, it'll help you to understand why it was that he wanted him killed. So I found all of this fascinating, and I went down an entire rabbit trail about Assyria and where Assyria was, and where the Galilee of the Gentiles is, that's mentioned in verse 1, that says, which lies along the road that runs between the Jordan and the sea, that it'll be filled with glory. Uh, so, it's really cool to kind of see all of this stuff coming to life when you get the context behind what is happening here. So that's going to be it for today, and we'll see you tomorrow.